Happy boy today. We're a little bit early, 1 or 2 minutes before 2, but that's okay. We were just excited to get going, right?
Yeah. So this is how much I've colored. Okay. I colored with marker.
Should we tell them what we're doing first, and then I'll have you walk through the steps?
Yeah.
Okay. First of all, let's tell everybody that it's
Wacky Weather Day.
Wacky Weather Wednesday. Because this morning I was up really early, went shopping, grocery shopping. It was gorgeous, really cold, probably like 30 degrees. Very sunny, so it actually felt warmer. It was nice. And I was thinking, you know what, maybe Cole and I will go for a little walk this afternoon.
Yeah.
And then 2 hours later, it started snowing. And then about 20 minutes after that, the sun came out. And then the wind started. And then it started really snowing about an hour after that. And I don't even know. We're in the basement right now, so I don't even know what it's like.
And then I think it's just little sprinkles right now.
Yeah, so it's Wacky Weather Wednesday. So first of all, let's say sorry that we weren't here on Monday.
Yeah, sorry.
Monday we had 2 reasons. One, Colmar and I decided that this week it was supposed to be spring break this week. We actually should be in California right now, in Palm Springs, right, with Papa and Lala. But obviously we are not. And so we decided to kind of do a modified schedule and do mostly spring break. And so we're taking a little bit of a break. We do a little bit of work every day. But the other reason on Monday was because we were expected to have, 50, 60, maybe even 70-mile-an-hour winds coming through here, and we get intense winds like that, and it got up to 55 miles an hour here at our house at least, and we were told that there was going to be widespread power outages. So we were preparing for that, and I was just fully anticipating that we would be on our art activity and we would lose power in the middle of it, and we would go dark. Everything would go dark. Exactly. So we were like, you know what? Let's just take a break today. So
and with the power, it flooded a teensy bit downstairs.
Yeah. Long story short, we discovered that a little bit of water flooding happened in our basement overnight because we were without power for about 9 hours. So that was fun. Nothing got ruined, so it's all good. And you know what? Most importantly, the studio was safe. The studio was a little bit uphill, so it didn't get any water in here. And thank goodness, because one of my paintings is on the floor, which brings us to what we're doing today. So today, as you could probably tell from Cole's picture that he showed you, we are focusing on circles. It's a very, very simple thing, a very elegant shape, and you can do tons and tons of stuff with it. It has very deep-rooted meaning when you're talking about symbolism in the art world, in philosophical, all over it. Circles have a lot of really good symbolism and meaning. Hang on one second. But they can be really beautiful too, and you can handle them in so many different ways. In fact, I'm actually starting a painting that is with circles. You guys may have seen it. And I say started because it's not even close to being done yet. But I have started a painting. Can't get the whole thing on, but you can see circles, 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 and more circles. Hey. So I've started this and kind of been in circle kick lately. So Cole and I are going to kind of roll with that. Roll, circle. Yeah. All right, so go ahead and say what you were going to say, and then we'll get started on supplies and whatnot.
Oh, that's what I was going to do, and tell us what we were doing.
Okay.
So I was using markers, and Mom was using paint.
Okay, so should we pull the camera down so we can show them what we were using? Okay. So here we go. I might have to go back up again, but we'll check it out. All right, so here's our little workspace. Now, I'm going to let Cole start with what he did first, and then I'll move on to kind of what I did. Cole's going to kind of continue while I'm giving you the demo on what I'm doing. Basically, these are two different versions. There are many more versions, but these are 2 different versions or adaptations of the technique. It's really simple. Literally any age can do it. And that's why we're going to show you the 2 different versions, his versus mine, because using different mediums sometimes is deciding or having the option to choose 2 different mediums will help with the level. So Cole, do you want to walk them through what you did first, and kind of move on the camera here a little bit more? So move this over just a little so they can see a little bit more what you did.
So what I did.
This one is Cole's.
Is did circles, and then
So you trace to the circles, so they can find anything that's a circle shape, right?
Yeah.
And they can trace around it. He chose, for the most part, with the exception of one, he chose to use the inside of a tape roll, which is really good for the little hands because it's really easy to make a circle. He also made a shape with the side of the top of the cup. You obviously could make 2 different circles, one this size and the other one this size. He mostly stuck to this, right? With the exception of one circle. I think you abandoned this. So then you traced it, and you did it with black marker. I'm just going to show everybody up close. This is really cool what's happening right in here. Okay, so I'll get these supplies out of the way. Now you tell everybody what you did then next after you traced the circles. Maybe we went over them with black marker so you could see the lines. Then what are you doing?
Then you color.
Yeah. He chose to do markers, correct? You chose to do markers? So for Cole's version, you just need paper. We're using cardstock for ours. You just need paper. You really don't need a pencil. You probably just, unless you wanted, he did his initial tracing with a pencil, but really you could just go do it with a marker. A black marker is really, really nice because it helps, especially for little eyes like this. It keeps the lines separated. And as you can see, what Cole's doing is he's coloring in between each little shape. So basically you have all these circles, but when they overlap and get involved with each other, right? They start to relate and they start to create these other cool shapes. So Cole is focusing on paying attention to those shapes and coloring the space in between. So that's why the black marks were really, really helpful. So again, he chose to use markers. He's got a giant box of markers just sitting to the left of him. And he's just choosing every single little section, which is exactly what I'm going to do also, but I'm going to do it with a different medium. Okay, so I'm going to let you continue to color in while I give them kind of a tutorial. You can move over if you need to. I know I kind of scooched you a little bit, but if you need to move over a little bit. So I'm going to show you move over. I am going to slide you just a tiny bit. There you go. I'm going to show you what I did. My version is slightly different. You can see that my circles are a little bit rougher. I'm sure you can guess what I used to make the circles. This is an adaptation that I think could be really useful and helpful for the littles because making these circles goes a lot faster. It's kind of more fun. You're pretty much isolated to one size. However, filling in between can be a little bit trickier. So there might be kind of a modification that uses both versions of what Cole's doing using the markers, but maybe what I'm doing in terms of making the circles. Yes, you love gold. You every single time. Okay, so I started mine, as you can see, but I left a little space here so you guys could see what I'm doing. All I did was I used craft paint. It could be any kind of black paint. You could even use watercolor, although watercolor will be a faint one. But tempera paint will work, and any kind of acrylic paint will work. You know, good to go. So I'm using the really inexpensive kind, and all I used was a toilet paper roll or paper towel roll cut in half, I think is actually what this is. And all you're going to do is I just squirted a bunch of paint right onto my palette here, which actually is a tile. That's what I use for my small work. And all you're going to do is just dip the end into the paint. And then you just go through and you're just going to dab to make circles. And you overlap as much as you want or as little as you want. And you just keep going. When you run out of paint, you just go back and you get more. You just keep kind of making the shapes that you want. leaving maybe some space in between. It's kind of fun to leave some space in between, as Cole did. He did his nice, and what I like about Cole's is his is like mine's a little bit more strict pattern. Cole's is a little bit more varied, which is really kind of fun. And then you go through and you just cover this all completely up, however many circles you want. Just noticing that the space in between is going to be the space that you're going to color in. Okay,
Ooh,
that's basically
so
it.
pretty.
All right, so I'm going to put that to the side over here. And again, that's all. As you know, like I'm trying to really use objects that you can find around the house, or that you already have around the house to really kind of make art happen. You know. Okay, so Cole's version is he traced the circles. My version is I did the dip into the paint and just kind of dabbed. All right, this looks really cool. This technique looks really, really cool if you have different shapes, or sorry, shapes. They're all circles. Different sizes of circles is kind of fun, and then the spacing in between becomes a whole different thing. Okay, I'm gonna move this right here so you don't stick your elbow in it, so that they can. That's wet right there. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to go back to doing what I was doing here, what I've started. So I am using watercolors instead of markers. I could use markers. What's really cool about this is the two different ways that you can do it with markers and filling in these little teeny little spots right here is very... It's tricky for the smaller ones, smaller areas, but using markers is a little bit easier. If you want to work on, especially for the littles, to work on those fine motor skills, using a paintbrush, just stuck my hand in the wet paint, using a paintbrush is going to be really, really helpful to get them to really focus on using fine motor skills, right? Fine motor skills, especially for somebody a little bit younger than Cole, like a couple years younger, those are something that they focus on in preschool. I know is a big deal, at least the first year of preschool. So that's going to be a really, really awesome thing for them to focus on. I'm going to try to do this without getting wet. So I've already started a couple little spots in here. So the idea is that you're just going to go through and you are going to paint in. Now the idea is you're painting in between the circles, like the little space in between. Everywhere you see an intersection is going to be a different shape and it's going to be a different color. You could go with a certain color palette if you want. I'm just going to go wild and crazy like Cole has. And this is definitely one of those things that takes a while to fill in because it's all these little individual shapes right here. Okay, so now I'm going to show you, this is also another really cool way to learn about how a couple of ways to apply watercolor. Most people will get their brush wet. My brush is over here. Okay, most people will just get their brush wet. I'm using a rounded brush. Doesn't really matter, depends on what shape you're doing, but in fact, I'll use a flat brush. I'll use one of these for the bigger spaces, but a lot of people will just get their brush wet. Let's wait. And I'm sorry, honey.
Okay.
And they will just go right for the color, right? They'll dip it right into the paint. So let's do a blue. And they create a little well, right? That's what you want. That's how you get your color activated. And then you just go in and you paint right in between the lines, following in between the lines. So the smaller the area,
the easier it is.
Oh, I think the harder. I was going to say the smaller the area, the harder it is. But what I was going to actually say was the smaller the area, I would say suggest the smaller the brush, right? This is a bigger area, so I'm using a slightly bigger brush in comparison to these two brush sizes.
Well, why
right? So for the smaller areas, I'll use this one. The bigger areas, I'll use this one. Sorry, Cole, go ahead. I didn't mean to interrupt you.
So why I said the smaller spaces are easier, it's because you don't get your hands much tired.
Oh, that is actually a very, very good point. It takes a lot more muscle for the big areas, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, that does make sense. I was talking strictly about like the tool that you use and the technique, but that is a really, really good point. A really good point. So I'm coloring in just a couple of these areas in the technique that most people would do watercolor. Here is another little trick, especially for those areas that are really, really small and fine. Okay, so let's say in, you know, I don't know, I'm going to say this little spot right here, right? This little area right here is pretty small. I'm going to teach you a trick. In watercolor, you can create a little well by doing a technique called wet on wet. What I just did a minute ago was wet on dry. The paper area was dry. I got my brush wet with the color and I applied it to the dry. So that's what's called wet on dry. That's your most commonly used. You first pick up watercolor, that's your instinct, right? Is to get that on there. So wet on wet is how it sounds. I'm going to take this little area right here and I only have water on my brush. I'm just going to get that little area wet. And I'm painting in just that. It's clear. It's only that area. It's hard to see, but like that little spot right there is the only area and it's just water. Then I go back in and I get some color, whatever color I'm using. I get some on my brush and I go in here and I just dab and I place the wet paint onto the wet surface. And you know what that does? It keeps it from spreading. You're creating a barrier, you're creating a well, you're creating that little barrier there that actually prevents the liquid color from going anywhere else. I'll do it with a slightly bigger area. Get my brush clean, my paper towels. All right, so I'm gonna do this area. Oh, that's still a little bit too much paint on there. All right, so I'm just gonna wet this. This area is a little bit bigger, so you should be able to see a little bit better. I'm only putting water, it's a little bit blue water, but I'm putting water only down into that area, and I'm focusing on that shape. Then I'm gonna go in, I'm gonna get a dark color here, I'll use a green, and I'm gonna get some of the green, and I'm gonna practice wet on wet, and all I'm doing is I'm just putting it down in here, and then you can just literally like push it around. See how it's kind of moving on its own? And watch if I tilt the paper, see how it's keeping it? Look at that. There's like a little border there. It keeps it. Now, if I tilt it a lot, of course, gravity will take over. But for the most part, it's keeping it in its spot. It's so cool. And then you can just go in and you can
Science.
Science, man. Science. And that's how you can kind of keep it in there. Now, like I said, for little ones, using these using brushes for these tiny little areas is so good for their fine motor skills, and learning for all of you, learning how to apply wet on wet technique is really an easy thing, a very easy thing to do. It doesn't,
like
you know,
the triangle is eating something.
And that's basically it. So there's, I would say, you know, to finish this out, you could leave it full like this. And these are gorgeous. Like, Cole, show people what yours looks like so far. Like, let's hold it up.
Hold on, let me just finish this last thing.
These look really cool in like a clean black frame. They look gorgeous. So I'm hoping that you will frame it. Some people will actually cut it into a shape. I'm going to put it in front of the camera for everybody to see.
Hey, let me...
I mean, just imagine it fully colored, or even some areas kept white too. They're really cool. I've seen people they'll cut them out in like shape of like a heart, and then hang it somewhere. You could cut this in sections, like this is an 8.5 by 11. You could cut it in fours, and quarter it, and you would have, and then on the back, make it into a card because it's blank on the back, and you could make it into like a gift card. Right? Like sending somebody a postcard or just giving it to them as a card. It's they're really cool. And it's so simple, super simple things to do. And that's basically it. Do you got any other pointers that you want to let anybody know about?
If this one was very fun, send it in the comments.
You are a YouTuber at heart. I can just feel it. It's gonna happen sometime.
I know. That's what I all want to be.
You want to be a YouTuber now?
Yeah.
Oh my God! Just last week you wanted to be a museum curator. so confused. You want to be so many things.
I
You're going to be a really
know.
busy adult, let me tell you. Really.
I know.
Okay, well, you know what you need for all of that, right? You
What?
need to make sure you do well in school for all of it. Mm-hmm.
Mm.
Mm-hmm. So that is basically it. We are going to continue on here, at least until poor little hand over here gets tired. You're doing an amazing job of coloring in between the lines. I mean, real good. Super good. Friday, I think what we are going to do...
Film Friday.
Why do you always say that? We're not watching a film. That's not what they're on here for. I think we're going to draw. So what I am going to suggest is, this is the plan so far. We're going to do something a little bit different, a little departure from what we have been doing. And we're going to draw a little bit. And what I'm going to suggest is, without telling you too much, supply-wise, all you're going to need is a piece of paper, a pencil, maybe an eraser too, and you're going to need like a magazine cutout of a, I just got this little guy right here, the little Geico guy. Doesn't have to be this guy, obviously, but something like, rip out a piece of a magazine that's either a character, an animal's a real good one, or even a person. If you want to do, if you have a picture of yourself or somebody you know, you can use that as well. But we're going to do something with this. Like, we're actually going to glue the picture down to the paper. So you will also need, probably a glue stick is probably sufficient. But also know that if you are going to use whatever, a photo of yourself or somebody, you know, a loved one or a friend or something, and it's an important photo, it will be glued down. So just keep that in mind. So we're going to do a little drawing, but we're going to keep it super simple, but it's really, really fun, and it's very, very imaginative. Okay. So that's what the plan is for Friday. Now it may change, who knows? Because as you guys know, I go by the director over here. This guy is the one who kind of decides on what we do. I give him some ideas and he picks.
Oh yeah, I think I want to do that.
Yeah. Okay. As of today, that's what we're going to do. So, we are going to then, put the camera back up here. We will say goodbye and let you guys. No.
I don't like this.
I know. I don't think they want to just sit here and watch us draw.
I'm sure they want to see.
Well, we can. I usually take a picture if we finish it. Although some of the stuff we haven't finished, I usually take a picture and I post it so people will get to see it. Okay. So. Yeah, with that, we are going to say goodbye, and
Bye.
We will say have a wacky Wednesday, and we will see you on Friday.
Film Friday.
All right? Okay, so have fun with circles. Woo! I'm going to continue on mine.
Friday.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye!